Joshua Phillip is an investigative reporter and correspondent with the Epoch Times, and I want to talk to him about this because everybody else is going, I wonder if they're here. They are. Hi, Mr. Joshua. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. So, with the border being open for 4 years and people pigpiling across the border trying to get into the country and just kind of getting waved in and running amok, going wherever they want, and now people in Michigan and up in Maine and other places, we have judges actually protecting horrible criminals that need to be kicked out of the country immediately. Some of them have to be from Iran, and they have to hate us. There have to be sleeper cells here, don't you think?
Absolutely, and they have actually been uncovered. The government they just arrested, in fact, 11 illegal immigrants from Iran. One of whom was a military sniper with the Iranian military.
Wow.
They just announced that one of the guys they arrested had a gun on him, tucked into his pants. They made fun of him in their posts announcing it, saying that he's lucky the gun didn't go off. But yeah, without a doubt,
he had to put something in there. He is from Iran. Just kidding.
Yeah. But without a doubt, there have been some shocking stories about it. In New York City, they even arrested an alleged Iranian assassin, and it was interesting the way the whole case went down. This was, a little bit ago now. But the way the whole case went down was there was an individual, Iranian, allegedly an agent with the Iranian regime, who was accused of trying to hire an Eastern European mafia to carry out an assassination on American soil right here in New York City, where I'm at right now.
Okay.
And the individual they wanted to kill was a journalist and critic of the Iranian regime. I mean, shocking. You got to think, it's one thing to have spies here. It's another thing that they're trying to hire gangs to commit murder on American soil. During the campaign trail, Donald Trump was, briefed by federal agents, and he was told that the Iranian regime had put out an assassination hit on him, the leading presidential candidate at the time, and now President Trump.
Yeah. I mean, they almost got him. I really believe that some of the people who tried to take a shot at him were hired by people who are like these guys.
I think we're still waiting for all the evidence on that, but it does look like there's a lot more to those cases, at least some of them, than meets the eye, including some of the international travel that took place.
Well, they wanted to throw the scent off the trail is what they want to do. That's why they went for other people instead of doing it themselves. But now I think they're desperate, so I'm really worried.
I think so, too. Yeah, I do think so as well. But, when you're dealing with Iranian sleeper cells, you're dealing with a few things. You're dealing with, as we just mentioned, the special agents, and those are the people hiring people to commit assassinations for them. In other words, they're going through gangs to do it, but it's actual Iranian assassinations. You're also dealing, of course, with just people trying to subvert things, but the bigger concern, well, maybe for just average Americans, is terrorists. I can actually tell you, when I was investigating the border crisis for a good while, I actually went to Panama, and I gained access to the camps there, the United Nations camps, where they're facilitating the whole thing. And I actually did encounter several Iranian individuals. And it's funny, I'm kind of like, I look probably more Italian, but they assumed I was Iranian, and so they were a little more friendly to me. But these individuals, they looked like military guys, like, big, burly guys. They were buff. They had military-looking, clothes on. And interestingly as well, they left the main facility. They don't really let you do so easily, because you can get arrested, actually, if you leave the facilities. There's a whole system set up to facilitate mass migration. And, they have these United Nations tents and everything like that. These Iranian individuals actually left it, and they went to a nearby restaurant and hotel. And I was having, at the time, dinner there, and encountered them. And so, yeah, without a doubt, there were Iranian individuals entering the country under those programs.
Well, and they're these big buff dudes. What do they need asylum for? Who's going to hurt them? You know what I mean? I mean, plus asylum, we all know the definition of it. It's you go to the country next to you and claim asylum. You don't go across the world on this massive journey to get to America and then say, I need asylum. There are some, Haiti, Venezuela, there are some people from those areas who are being hunted by the government or who are being mass murdered by crazy gangs and stuff like that who do need asylum. I'm not saying that they're all lying, but those dudes that you're talking about, pretty sure they were okay.
They not only looked very healthy, and one guy was very buff, big dude. They were very well groomed, and they looked like they had a lot of money, and they did not look like the other people at that camp. I can tell you without a doubt. But on that point too, it's true. Normally, if you want to seek asylum, you need to seek asylum in the first safe country you enter.
Right.
And individuals traveling up from Panama would have entered several. Costa Rica is a safe country, and so is Mexico by definition. Mm-hmm. And so all the people, even in Mexico, or Canada for that matter, that they should be applying for asylum in Mexico, not the United States.
Well, half of them here are from Mexico, so I don't know what that's all about. All right, so where do you think the sleeper cells are? I know it's a guess, it's a shot in the dark, it's a penny in the air, whatever you want to call it, but do you think they are going to focus on places of mass population to do the most damage, or are they, just in farmland somewhere? I think we dropped the ball on 9/11 when we had guys saying, I don't need to know how to learn how to land a plane. How that got past security, I don't know. But where do you think these guys are? Ouch.
I would believe they would be in major areas like New York City, like Southern California, for example, probably Washington, D.C. The way I see these individuals carrying out their operations, though, is they probably won't do it themselves. I would imagine they'll get more involved with trying to radicalize other individuals. They'll probably try to get gangs to do things. I would even say that some of the mass protests we're seeing very likely have individuals behind the scenes trying to radicalize them, whether tied in with Iran or tied in with the Chinese Communist Party. A lot of these groups, when you're dealing with the real agents sent by these, hostile foreign countries, they're not going to get their hands dirty themselves. They want to stay, one step removed from anything like that. And they want to play this game and stir things up as much as they can for as long as they can. I do think that the biggest risk we're going to have now is probably radicalization of these people who are, already protesting on the streets and already graffitiing everywhere and throwing rocks at police and everything like that. I imagine let's radicalize them, and you might see increasingly violent protests from that.
Yeah. Do you speak Persian?
No, I don't.
Okay, so were they trying to Persian you?
I speak English. It's English and taco menu Spanish.
That's funny. Obviously I grab everybody's picture to put them on the podcast. You can pass for Iranian. Do people,
I could do it.
Do people look at you sideways sometimes?
It's funny. They when I hang out, if I'm like around an area with them, they just think I'm one of them. It's because my mom's white, right? But my dad is mixed Hawaiian Filipino, and so I look different, I guess.
And you never know what you're going to get in that bag of M&Ms. You just don't know. So, do we have concrete evidence they're here, though? I mean, now that the border crossings are at zero, they had years to come in, so they might not get in now, but they definitely had a chance to.
Oh, they did. And I can say there have been some very strange incidents. Epic Times, actually, we did some investigations at the U.S.-Mexico border. We worked with a group of private citizens who were doing surveillance, like putting like hunting cams up in different border areas where they believed there were a lot of illegal crossings. One of the videos we got was of several members that they looked like cartel. I mean, it's heavily armed men on horseback. So they're carrying rifles, expensive guns, nice guns. They're carrying rifles, and these what look like cartel members, armed with rifles, on horseback, drop off one individual at the border. And that individual, he's not Mexican. Yeah, he is someone of Middle Eastern descent. And to have an armed escort for one person like that, you don't really see that.
Yeah.
So that was either an individual with a lot of money, or it was an individual who, I don't know, they're doing something with, but it was not a normal thing you would see.
Yeah, that could be cartel, though.
They could be cartel. But one thing that's not understood that well is actually Hezbollah, which is, Iran is one of the largest, terror vectors in the world. I'd actually say the Chinese Communist Party is bigger than they are on that. But, one of the networks they run is Hezbollah. Hezbollah has massive influence in Latin America.
Really?
They also they work in Mexico. In fact, I've been told by former intelligence sources that they even trained the cartels on how to build roadside bombs, the improvised explosive devices. They taught the cartels how to build those. They also had some individuals with Hezbollah who helped them learn how to build the tunnels, the drug tunnels.
So what's the government doing to neutralize these schmucks, these murderers, these pieces of human fecal matter who just want to kill people who've done nothing to them? What's the government doing to find them?
In those countries, almost nothing. If you go to Peru, there's a Hezbollah political party.
Wow.
They have political parties, and if you go further down south into Latin America, especially you get to like the tri-border region around there, a lot of the cartels are what you call narco terror groups. They're narco terrorists. They're cartels, and they're also terrorist organizations.
I'm never rooting for Miss Peru and Miss Universe again, ever. All right. So as we talk about this, though, they're here in the U.S. They're probably planning something. What should we expect? What should we do?
Well, I mean,
not that you're a policymaker, but
I think there's a gun to the Iranian regime's head right now, and it may be in a very literal sense. In a very literal sense. Maybe not even a bomb. There's a bunker buster pointed at their head right now.
Yeah.
And so I think it's in their interest to give basically stand-down orders to any of those networks. Anything they do that can be traced back to them as far as sponsoring or anything else like that, it's going to blow up in their faces. So I would imagine they're going to lay low. But at the same time, I also see the Trump administration probably using this to justify the deportations. And so you probably will watch them, announce more arrests of Iranian illegal immigrants because right now, they want to show that there are dangerous people in this country, and that's why they're getting them out.
A lot of the Iranian people are really good people, but they are a huge governmental sponsor of terrorism. We know this. Just take a look at Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah, as you were talking about, and other groups as well, even the Houthis. But we've got to do something to stop them before it happens. So here in America, we are so complacent. I mean, we've got people on the street who can't even name all 50 states, we're oblivious to the world around us and the dangers that are lurking. We're just, I don't know, faces to the phones, which brings me to my last question before we run out of time. If they were to launch a cyber attack, do you think they would go after our communication system, or what would they go after?
They would only want to launch a cyber attack like that if it was accompanied by something else. So maybe if it was a large scale sleep, maybe if they gave activation orders to all their sleeper cells, for example, they wanted to carry out large scale terror attacks, then they would launch a cyber attack on that scale. Any other cyber attacks are going to be more targeted, for example, going after a certain business or maybe a certain government official or something like that. Or if they believe that, let's say, for example, there's a mass protest in New York City and you have all these crazy people throwing rocks at police, and maybe they believe that, maybe the government here doesn't, maybe the local government here does not want to put down the protests. They might then launch a cyber attack to shut things off, to try to add fuel to the fire, so to speak. And so if they did launch one, you'd see it being done for other purposes like that.
All right. Well, I know they're here, so I'm waiting for them to pop up. A lot of people are like, you should watch what you say on the air. They might be here, too. I'm like, that's never going to happen because I'm not going to act like I'm scared of them because I'm not. I'm not going to be able to stop them from doing whatever they're going to do anyway because, I'm a girl. What am I going to do, So people just live your lives. We can't live our lives in fear because that's what they want. But if they do decide to do something, it's going to be to big targets, not little bitty towns across USA or somebody's farm or a sheep. They're not going to go after. I put that in there on purpose. They're not going to go after things like that. But they are here, and we should know this. So, where do people go to read what you write, Mr. Joshua?
They can find me on YouTube. That's Crossroads with Joshua Phillip. I'm also on X at Josh J. Phillip.
And it's Philip, not spelled the same like Mr. Coffee on the Green Mile. He's Phillipp. It's a little bit different. Josh, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.